Dr. Michael Hutchison has harnessed the latest in neuromuscular dentistry and impact technology to develop a mouthguard that does more than protect. It enhances. NeuroGuard Plus isn't just a mouthguard. By focusing on the jaw's physiological position, it provides an added layer of neuroprotection, significantly reducing the risk of sports-related neurological injuries. All athletes should be using a custom mouthguard designed to their bite position. NeuroGuard Plus was created as a means to maintain your physiological jaw position regardless of your bite. The appliance is designed to optimize your upper-lower jaw relationship to improve your strength, your balance, your oxygen intake, and drastically lower your chance of a concussion. Independent studies have shown that the NeuroGuard Plus will provide you with improvement to both upper and lower body strength. The same improvements were not present with a common mouthguard. Over 6,500 athletes have used the NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Hutchison is happy to say that the amount of diagnosed concussions is 0.2%. The NeuroGuard Plus offers athletes, coaches, and parents an advantage to keep their players safe on the field. If you or your child actively participates in athletics, they need to be protected from the dangers of repetitive head trauma. Get your NeuroGuard Plus mouthguard today. Click on the link and use code ILP Sports for 10% discount on your purchase.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the host of the Injured List podcast, Brian Scott.
What is up, everybody? We are here once again with another edition of the Injured List podcast. Your host, Brian Scott, with you, and we have another awesome guest, as usual. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is a little bit different than what we normally bring on the show as far as his background, his experience, and what he's up to right now, but I promise you, you will not be disappointed because he probably has one of the best podcasts I've come across in a long while, and you're going to want to watch and listen and hear what he has to say because he's got some great advice and some cool things to talk about. Guy's got a network like I couldn't believe. Without further ado, guys, I want to bring in Mr. Jermey Robinson. What's up, Jermey? Thanks for joining us here on the podcast. And when I said that you're not like some of my other guests, there's a reason for that. It's because we're not here to, well, we are going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about some injury stuff. But the big reason I wanted to have you on is because, my man, you've got a network of people that you have had on your show, and that it makes me very jealous. And the topics that you guys cover is phenomenal. I mean, you really get into it with your guests as far as deep down personal stuff and things that kind of led to their success in their careers and motivations and why they do what they do. And part of that is because of the title of your podcast. It's the I'm sorry, I'm going to screw this up. So let me take it's the It Factor podcast. And Jermey, you're a computer scientist guy, an engineer, went to HBCU, Clark Atlanta University, home of the Panthers. You're a computer guy, but you got into podcasting and you've had some amazing guests on your show. So tell me how it all got started for you. Give me a little bit about your background and how you got into this world.
Yeah, so the crazy thing is I was in college and studied computer science and engineering. It's hard, man. And I was, you know what? I got to see how I'm going to do this. So I went on YouTube. Long story short, I'm searching for videos like to do a project I was doing. I'm like, man, if you get me through this, like I'm just like talking like, man, look, I'm praying, very spiritual guy. I'm like, hey God, if you get me through this, I'm gonna do something to give back. Time goes, I passed the class, I graduated college, and I'm still not doing what I said I would do. I get to work, you make money, and I sit there and was like, one day I was like, man, bro, I should do something, man, like TV show, podcast. And my best friend happens to be an editor. And when we sat there, he's like, I edit it if you shoot it, man, if you do everything. So we led into that back in 2019 and been doing it ever since. I love doing it. I wish I'd done it earlier, but hey, I'm still young, so I'm glad I was able to do it and to see where it is now, I can't even imagine it. Can't even imagine it.
Oh, I got to get some editor friends. I don't really have enough editor friends, I guess, because I'm doing it all alone over here on this side. But now you come from a sports family. You come from a sports background yourself. You've got some cousins that are involved in football. You at one point yourself were involved in football. Tell me a little bit about your athletic career growing up and stuff.
Yeah, so when we were growing up, me and my cousin was very close. That's in the league now. I would say we had a older cousin that was in the league playing for the Chicago Bears, and Marcus, man, he always came back and gave back to the community and did a lot of things for the community in Fort Valley. And I was like, when I grow up, I want to do that. I had an uncle that played in the NFL, so like having all those things and hearing those stories from back when they played, it was like, hey, it's possible. We could do it, and you think that's like the family business. I think after a while, like once you go to middle school, high school, you're like, hey, I like football. And even the fact that I got to play at a high level, win some good region championships, go to the state championship, play in the big dome, Falcons play in. It was very amazing, man. To now see my cousin now playing for the Rams, won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, I would say to see DeMarcus do that, man, I could have never imagined when we were throwing the football in the backyard. So definitely proud of my family, man. Thankful I'm involved now, definitely.
Awesome. And you grew up down in Georgia, is that right?
Yeah, so Fort Valley, Georgia.
And you attended Atlanta Clark University, the home of the Panthers. Tell us a little bit about the HBCU experience that maybe we don't really know a lot about.
Yeah, so it's just like a family community. I would say that it's very family oriented. I had a chance to attend Clark Atlanta in 2014 to 2019. I would say that was some of the best times of my life because it's the first time you see some Black people doing amazing things. And growing up where I grew up, it's a lot of different people, different cultures. But the crazy thing is it's a small town. So the fact that it's only an hour away from Fort Valley, Georgia, and see how advanced it is up here, man, I would have never known that at Clark. I would say also just seeing people get different degrees, the people that I came in with graduate was amazing. See that they're doing amazing things really means a lot. So I would say that HBCUs are just like PWIs. I mean, it's just a lot of Black people, a lot of tradition, a lot of history on the reasons why we had to go to those universities. But at the end of the day, I love the university. I'm glad I got to attend it. And I just was there the other week. So definitely always try to give back.
And you were pretty active in the community while you were there. You were part of one of the fraternities. Is that correct? Serving as vice president at one time?
Yes, indeed. So Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, vice president, still, of course, active and everything, fraternity, still give back, do a lot of different things. Thankful for that fraternity. And it was an amazing experience at Clark. I love talking about it.
And that's right in the heart of Atlanta. So there's no shortage of good athletics and stuff like that going on down there.
Right. Look, the stadium, the Hawks and the Falcons stadium is like 5 minutes away from the school. Like, it's awesome. Literally right there.
Nice. Did that help you with some of the connections you've developed in getting guests on your show and the podcast?
I would say Clark has like some of the people I went to school with. Being in Atlanta as well, like you may always run into someone, family and friends. They always some kin to people or know someone. I would say that I wrote about that a little bit in my book, Art of Network, because something I found out early was, hey, let me use the people, and get in touch with people that I got in touch with or knew in school, and who they know, and you never know who people know or what field they're working in. So I would say that Clark really helped me with that, and also being in Atlanta. So you're all right, definitely being here. Yeah, actually has helped me out. So
I want you to tell us about your book, but before you do that, I want to tell you a little bit about Atlanta and my first experience there. Mm-hmm. I went down with my wife and my kids a few years ago, and we hopped in the car. We did the 3.5, 4 hour drive from here in Charlotte, and got to the hotel kind of late around midnight. And we rolled up at a hotel right in downtown there, not too far from like the Olympic Park and everything, and near Coca-Cola and all that stuff. And we see a lot of cars, we see a lot of people walking around, and a lot of young people walking around, partying, all very dolled up and glamored up, and some people in costumes. It was really weird. We didn't know what was going on. And we come to find out that not only were we there during the Atlanta LGBTQ Pride Parade, but we were also there during one of like the Dragon Con festivals. So you can imagine, you can imagine the sight that we saw rolling up at that hotel around midnight. That was my first Atlanta experience, but we had a great time. Got to see a lot of the cool sites, the historical stuff as far as the civil rights movement and all that stuff. It was really cool. So great city to have a good time. We enjoyed ourselves, and I've got some family that live not too far outside there, so it's pretty cool. But you mentioned your book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so the art of networking. As I got certain guests, I realized that I was like, I'm already an avid author. This is my second book, and writing that, man, I would say I really started to realize, like, people kept asking me, hey, how you got in touch with Ryan Clark? Or how you did this? And name drop. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to write a book about it. And in writing the book, it brought me to tears. So I was like, wow, I can't believe I really did this, and just telling people that basically you can overcome some of the things that you want to do. I think that at the end of the day, if you set out a plan like I do, it's not rocket science, like reaching out to people. I think a lot of people are kind of nervous. So of course, I use social media a lot, but I was emailing and just being professional. It's something that I talk about a lot in the book and talk about networking and the importance of it. So definitely try to go in on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you enough how important that is on the podcasting side. I mean, just reaching out to people, trying to get in touch, make contacts, and then those contacts lead you to more contacts, and then you develop a network, and then those lead to more introductions and ways to kind of get in touch with people, much like you and I got in touch. Marcus Ogden put us in touch, another HBCU guy. He's a Howard grad, and he's been helping me a lot, and I'm very honored that he was thought of me when he thought of you and getting us together. So cool. Now, I noticed some memorabilia back there behind you hanging up. What do you got hanging up sports-wise back there? It looks like some football jerseys, maybe some autograph stuff. Yeah. Very nice.
So got Tyrann Mathieu, Cam Newton. Then I got my guy Teron that I had on the show, man. He great defensive end that plays for the Eagles. Then I got Deion Sanders, my guy Sean Taylor, and then Jalen Ramsey down there. So yeah, man. Then
Very nice.
I got my cousin over here.
Can't leave him out.
Definitely.
Can't leave him out. That's nice. Nice little collection you got there. Really, really like that. I got my little ticker in the back, my little sports ticker, and a couple of helmets. That's about it. But I've got some stuff tucked away in storage. I got to get it out there when I make up the man cave. Working on that. That's tough when you got a wife and 2 kids.
Let me know when you start doing it.
You got wife and 2 kids. Got to sign off on that first. I got to get that signed off on, but we're working on it now. You're no stranger to injuries. You've had a lot of athletes on your show who have been injured. You've gotten into discussions about this stuff on some of your podcast topics and things like that. In fact, one of the guests you just had on was a guy who ended up on my injury reports and updates throughout this past season. Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver from the Baltimore Ravens. Tell me about that. How'd that go?
So, man, it was amazing. He wanted to come back on. We talked this week with our episode coming out, and we stay in contact. I try to get people to be like family once I bring them on. I would say, I don't know, he was from South Georgia like me, and Tipton was amazing because, it's kind of to see so much football coming out of Georgia is amazing. I can't even believe it. But, I found out who he was. I reached out to him, and he hit me back. And that's the best thing. Once someone gets back in touch with you, you have to hit the ball while I hit the ground. So definitely I got in touch with him, talked, set up everything. Very busy guy, like a lot of athletes that I talked to. But the biggest thing was he was very genuine. He called me on the phone. Like I was messaging him. Then he's like, hey, man, give me your number. Then I called him. He's like, look, I'm busy today, but we need to do. He's like, I really want to do this, man. A lot of people don't ask me to do this stuff, man. And I was like, you of all people. So to sit down with him and to talk about the importance of health, I was not even thinking he was going to go in that deep of it because he went through some injuries that I don't think you don't even think he would come back from. And just to see him have an amazing year this past year and going into a new year, I'm just proud of him because, he has been through a lot of adversity, but he's an amazing athlete and just an amazing person, very family going and loves to give back. And I say the more you give back, you're going to always come out on the positive side. So I'm proud of Rashad. And I can't believe we even communicate like that. So definitely try to stay in touch with everyone I interview, but definitely with Rashad, he like family. So I definitely message him all the time, say something to him, words some encouragement. So
definitely. Awesome. Yeah, I'll be looking for that next episode coming out with him. That was a good one the first time around. So I'm looking forward to the second one. Yeah, he bounced back pretty good from a very bad injury, in fact. And a lot of people were writing him off, weren't sure what to expect when he came back from it. But I'm actually predicting some good things from him heading into the season. He's had all off season the rest now, get even healthier. than he was last year. So that's just up and up from here, hopefully, and no more setbacks. But yeah, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about the it factor. Because you really dive deep into some really interesting topics. You have some interesting people with interesting backgrounds on the show. You had a young woman on there not too long ago either that I saw that episode. I was really intrigued by her. She's like a biochemical engineer looking to maybe be a NASA astronaut. You know what I'm talking about. So you've had some amazing people on the show, and I found a lot of what they talk about really interesting. Tell us, how you developed the idea, what kind of topics you've had, and what other guests you've had on the show.
Definitely. So I would say the thing I learned is, write out. I love to write stuff on old school. Love to write stuff in a notebook and kind of pick up questions that are engaging, but also kind of take people outside the box of, oh, we're watching this podcast. Oh, they ask the same thing. Like, nope, I'm going to interview the doctor, the lawyer, the teacher, the soon to be astronaut, the athlete, and let you know that these are all people. These are the different things you can be. I think I kind of started at first like, oh, I'm gonna get people in tech. Then I talked to family and friends. They're like, athletes, doctors, lawyers. Like, everybody needs to see different people, So I would say I take the time to do those questions, and then I try to reach out and go to different places. I don't just try to look for athletes or just a person in tech. I try to go all around. But in doing that, you find so many amazing people. And I can't even, I'm gonna be honest, with talking to my wife about the questions, I always line up and say, what you think about this? I'm like, hey, what you think if I do it this way this time? So I try to research and learn as much as I can about the people so that I know what I'm coming with. Like the young lady that I interviewed the other day, a basketball player plays at Howard University, and she had to sit out this year. And she has been having a great career in basketball, especially at her university. Won a championship back in 2022, and she got injured this year. And we were talking, and she was saying she's back to almost 100%. And she literally was telling me, like, thank you for these questions that you asked because you literally building me up. And I was like, that's what I do it for, So talking to someone like her and telling her, hey, you the second basketball player I had on here outside of Chris Paul. She was just like, I was like, yeah, man. I was like, yeah. So she was like, oh, yeah, I got to see that. So seeing things like that, that's what it's all about for me. And I will also say bringing on the people in different careers all show everyone that it's a podcast for everybody. So I try to always push that. Definitely. Thank you. That's a great question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I know you do focus on African Americans and their success stories and things like that. But I'll tell you what, everybody. I mean, I enjoyed the podcast. I don't have quite as much melanin in my skin, but I still enjoyed it. And the Chris Paul interview, man, that was really cool because. Did you guys even talk about basketball? I felt like you talked about everything but basketball.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So like you end up saying, okay, I'm gonna talk about basketball. I think we talked about Kobe Bryant, and outside of it, I was like, let me learn a little bit more about you. Let me not do the normal podcast, Let me get the thing that somebody gonna come back and be like, wow, he interviewed Chris, but they talked about stuff that we talk about.
That's right.
Definitely. And I'm also broadening myself because I'm like, I got to get everybody on this podcast. I've been kind of trying to just learn how to mesh my networks with everyone. So definitely.
But yeah, Chris Paul has a cool story. I mean, he's a Wake Forest guy, so he's not too far up north from where we are now. And he had a pretty remarkable story growing up there in Winston-Salem. So if you haven't checked out that episode, people, I highly recommend it. That one with Chris Paul was really cool. Man, I'm slacking here. I gotta up my game, keep up with you. You're really getting quite the haul of guests on your shows. That's great, though. I'm happy for you, man. So
you, man.
What is next? I mean, it's only up from here, no? What do you got in the works? What's going on? What's next?
The biggest thing I think is I shoot these episodes and they like sit, and me and my team, we sit there and be like, you know what? When this come out, it's gonna be amazing. And I think that I tell everyone, hey, this episode was amazing, but I treat everybody the same. I think that the next thing that's gonna start happening is more episodes. I'm trying to work on live that I can do from time to time because a lot of people have been asking for those. They're like, hey, can you do our certain episodes I'm sitting in, like the one I had yesterday? I'm like, I should have did this live. A lot of people probably, not even just to tune in, but just the message that the young lady was giving. It was just amazing. I will also say that just gonna start back recruiting soon too for my next season. So I try to recruit a little bit early. I start kind of like in October around my birthday and end in August and like relax for a while, then come full swing in October. So in doing that, I try to kind of knock out episodes. But the biggest thing I'm learning is since 2019, I always had people coming on, but now it's just like back. And like I have to learn how to organize everyone and reach out. Hey, is this happening? So I can move the episode up. So what I'm trying to focus on is just making sure I keep bringing good content, keeping my connections with people. And I'm trying to get my website together, different things like that to get things even better. So it's a lot of little works behind the scenes that I'm doing, I would say right now.
How is your computer engineering degree and background? How has that played into your podcasting? Do you use those skills a lot to develop some of your intros and outros and video stuff?
So the creative side of everything, I would say, with me being a developer and doing it so long, I think that sitting down and like being very strategic on what I do I think that's with anything you go to school for. I think you can be able to do that, but I think I do it a little differently just because I had that engineering mindset. I would also say certain things come a little easier because of being an engineer. Like for instance, like the editing and stuff like that. I got an editor that I sit down with, but he has taught me so much. I'm like, I'm telling him all the time, I'm like, bro, you know you're an engineer, right, man? And he's like, oh man, like, no, I'm not an engineer. I'm like, yes, you are. So like seeing those type of things, and a lot of times I try to see what I'm doing, what I gained in college, and like, hey, you know what, I actually am using it. So sometimes I don't notice it, sometimes I do.
Well, your intro is fire, man. I really like the intro. It's pretty sweet. So whoever did that, kudos to them. They did a great job. All right, man. So we're doing a live show down here in Charlotte, up in Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a live NFL draft event. Me and the boys from that sports podcast network. I'm wondering, do you pay attention to the NFL draft? Do you have any predictions? Anything you'd like to see happen with your teams?
So, me being a Washington fan, I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I'm just, whatever happens, but looking at other teams, I do support other teams. I would say Baltimore, I would say I hope they go out and get something like certain core linemen, like they trenches a little bit together. I do want to see that. I do want to see who's going to end up getting the receiver out of, what's his name? That plays for Ohio. I want to see him.
Harrison Jr.?
Yeah, Harrison Jr. I want to see where he goes. And then I also want to see a couple quarterbacks come out, like the LSU quarterback. It's a good list of them. So I want to see what they end up and kind of what's going to happen. Because even earlier today, I seen the Jaguars brought on Mac, and I was like, why did y'all do this? Like,
I saw that too. That was kind of an odd move. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. So I'm kind of confused on some of the people that's going to get drafted. I think it's going to be a big defensive year. I think some odd reason, that's what I've been thinking. And seeing some of the stuff when I was seeing the combine, I was like, these are good guys. So like seeing that, I think that I'm looking forward to seeing a couple players go off, but I haven't been maybe tuned in. I think that I'm gonna be a little bit more tuned in as time goes once approach closer, since getting closer to April. So
well, the great thing about the draft is not too much long after that, preseason starts already. It's hard to believe.
Right.
Before you know it.
Before
you know it. So, what position did you play when you were growing up playing ball?
I played left guard and right guard and defensive end, man.
Okay.
Left guard, right guard more. I play offense all throughout. So
was that kind of in your pedigree? Was that a lot of your uncles and your cousins play?
So seeing them being skill players, it was like, oh man, how could I do this? Even my uncle's a running back. So I'm like, hey, but I think that I had a little speed. I would say I wasn't always the fastest, but the biggest thing was I would knock someone out. And I always loved doing that. Like the pulling, I'm a pulling guard. Like all the time I would do that, get commended for it. I got in the newspaper for it once, so I was proud of that. And I would say that like things like that, it's always when I flashback or talk to friends about it, like even now, seeing certain linemen get glorified, I'm so proud. Once a lineman, always a lineman. And I'm like, hey, I just love hitting people, man, and knocking people out. And I think if I could do it all over again, though, I would have played defense more. Definitely done that.
On the end, you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
That in it. Nose tackle or something.
Okay.
I would have done.
You like to be in the trenches. in the trenches. That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
definitely.
It's sometimes a ungratifying position because you don't really get a lot of the accolades, but real players, everybody on the field knows that's where the battle's won and lost.
Yeah, definitely. I have
All
a
right.
lot of pat on back. Definitely.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We've got all your information will be in the show notes. So if anyone's interested in getting in touch with Jermey, I'll have all his contact info. There'll be links to his book, to the It Factor podcast. So please, folks, take a listen. One of the best podcasts I've come across in a long time. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. It truly is a really good one. The questions you guys ask, the topics you get into with some of these guests, and just the level of familiarity of the guest star, it's really incredible. So like you mentioned, Chris Paul, Rashad Bateman, just to name a few. But you've got some other really interesting people that come on from all different walks of life. And it's cool just hearing them talk about what their it factor is that got them to where they are and how they're using that to keep climbing the ladder of success. So Jermey, keep doing what you're doing, man. I love it. I'll be watching along as a fan. And I want to thank you personally for coming on the podcast and for talking with us. And ladies and gentlemen, Jermey Robinson.
Thank you so much, man. It means a lot to be on here, and I look forward to getting with you more often, man, and collaborating, because this podcast that you have is amazing, and also the work outside that we do is amazing. So thank you so much, man.
Well, thank you, brother. And we will definitely be collaborating in the future. No doubt about that, folks. So stay tuned. We'll let you know. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Injured List podcast. Your host, Brian Scott. We'll be back after this. Special shout out to today's episode to SeatGeek. We recently partnered with them to become a brand ambassador. What does that mean? Well, for you, it means you get a special discount when you make your first ticket purchase with SeatGeek. With my code, InjuredListPod, you will get $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticket purchasing app that takes all the confusion out of buying tickets to your favorite sports, concert events, and more. They score each ticket on a scale of 1 to 10 to help you know if you're getting a good deal. Green is good, red is bad. My followers get $20 off their first ticket purchase using my code, InjuredListPod. Click on the link in the show notes and browse for your favorite events. Your next big night ever is waiting, and they have the tickets.
Fantasy Sports Corp and Underdog Fantasy have teamed up to start your fantasy season off in the win column with Best Ball. What is Best Ball? It's quite simply the easiest way to win. No team management, no trades, no waivers. It's their biggest contest ever, and it has only gotten bigger. You simply have to sit and win. You don't even have to set your lineup. Always get your best score every week. Just enter a contest, draft your team, and Underdog will do the rest. What could make this even better? How about free money, up to $100 using our exclusive promo code? Go online now and use the promo code InjuredList to double your deposit up to $100. You tell them Gingerbread sent you. Good girl.